As I said, there are 4 things that you need to get right in this playbook. So let's get straight into it. Number 1 is your meta fundamentals, your campaign structure. Before you can scale, you need to have the foundations in place. I'm going to run through these very quickly in this video because I have another video on them that goes into them in depth. I'm going to link that video in the description. But firstly, you need a product-led campaign structure. In 2025, I audit so many accounts, even accounts that spend a lot of money, and they get this completely wrong. So they either have multiple campaigns or ad sets per product, or they have the complete opposite, which is a lot of products or collections in one campaign. So when I say product-led campaign structure, what I mean is that you need one product or collection per campaign. Now, if you were Apple, you would have a separate campaign for the iPhone, for the MacBook, for the iMac, for the AirPods, etc. Why do you want a separate campaign for all of these products? Well, number 1 is they have different price points. And if they have different price points, they probably have different margins, which means they have different profit targets. The easiest way to do this is to go into your Shopify analytics, sort your bestsellers by revenue generated in descending order, and just create a separate campaign per best-selling product. It's honestly that simple. Number 2 is your attribution setting. So in 2025, you should be running 7-day click. And I'm not even saying that 1-day view conversions are worthless, because they aren't. They are definitely not worthless, but the larger you get, now this video is for brands trying to reach 8 figures, the closer to that mark you get, the more that view through conversions inflate results. If you're watching this and if you're trying to get to 8 figures, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. So choose 7-day click and just understand that your ads are probably going to under attribute a little bit. I've seen numbers like 20% floating around. But what you're going to do instead of using in-platform metrics as your source of truth is you're going to use higher level metrics. And you're going to use those metrics. You're going to use those higher level metrics to make changes in your ad account, and you're going to use them to understand exactly how your ads are performing. Now, I'm going to touch on these metrics later in the video, and I'm going to run you through each and every one of them so you know exactly what they are and how to use them. The next thing that you need to get right in your meta fundamentals is your bidding strategy. Personally, I scale with cost controls. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't scale with cost controls in 2025 because your products, as we touched on, they have different price points and different margins. They also have different profit targets. So one product may have a CPA of $30, another may have a CPA of $50. If you already know your CPA or your profit targets beforehand, why would you not tell Meta what these targets are so it can flex spend up or down based on daily demand in platform? And what I mean by daily demand is on one day, Meta may say, listen, there are 100 conversions available at your CPA target for this product. So it's going to go out there and it's going to spend all your budget. On the next day, could even be tomorrow, the day after, it could say, hey, listen, there are not many conversions available at your target CPA, so it's not going to spend your budget. Do you not want every dollar of your spend to be as profitable as possible? Do you not want one of the most powerful algorithms in the world to allocate your budget for you based on your profit targets? Honestly, it makes no sense to me when I get pushback on cost controls because what I just said, the way that I laid it out, it just makes complete sense to me. It is the most profitable, predictable, and honestly the easiest way to scale. I don't understand why you'd want to be in the platform making manual changes, etc., when you can just have the algorithm do it for you. Now, one of the most common pushbacks I hear is that cost controls result in retargeting ads, which means that your ads are just going after people who are already in an existing pool of engaged customers, right? So they've gone on your website, they may have engaged with your social posts or whatever. That is not my experience. I have used Triple Whale and Northbeam's new visit percent to see when we're running lowest cost versus when we're running cost controls, do we get the same percent of new visitors from our ads? And I've also used Meta's own in-platform audience segments to validate this. What I see is something similar across all of them. It's that cost control campaigns are very, very similar to lowest cost campaigns in the amount of net new traffic that they're driving. Now, this video is for brands that are trying to scale to 8 figures. If you are in on the 9-figure mark, it may be something completely different, but we're not talking about that in this video. We're talking about how to scale to 8 figures. Now that we've got the meta fundamentals out of the way, the next thing that you need to get right if you want to scale to 8 figures with Facebook ads is measurement. As I said earlier, we are not exclusively using in-platform metrics, but we're focused on higher level metrics like your actual business growth, your revenue, your contribution margin, etc. So instead of looking at in-platform metrics and making optimizations based on those, you're going to look at these instead. The first thing you're going to look at is AMER. Now, AMER is what percent of your new customer revenue did you spend on ads? And I personally like to view it as a percent. So for example, if we made 100 grand in new customer revenue and we spent $30,000 on ads, that is a 30% AMER. It is so easy to figure out. All you have to do is take your ad spend and divide it by your new customer revenue and you have your AMER. The reason why AMER is so helpful is that it makes it incredibly easy to figure out if your new customer acquisition efforts, aka your ad spend, is profitable. So for example, it obviously has to add up to 100%, right? So if you're spending 30% of new customer revenue on ads and you calculate that your cost of delivery, which is cost of goods, your taxes, your fees, shipping, etc. If it equals 50%, right? You have 50% in cost of delivery, and then you're spending 30% on ads, which is 80%, which leaves you with 20% contribution margin. Maybe that's your target, maybe it isn't. Just for illustration's sake, that's how you'd figure it out. That is the reason why I put AMER as the #1 metric you should track to supplement in-platform results. So you're going to track AMER to make sure that your new customer acquisition efforts are as profitable as you want them to be. The next metric that you're going to track is new customer contribution margin. And you're going to track this because you want to know the total amount of profit or contribution margin that you're making from your new customer acquisition. The next metric that you want to track is contribution margin per new customer. So this is not the entirety. This is not the total of new customer contribution margin. This is per new customer. And this is to supplement the total. This is just your total new customer contribution margin divided by the amount of new customers. Now, again, you're using this metric because it can help you immediately identify when your new customer acquisition efforts are becoming less profitable or completely unprofitable, which I touched on just a second ago, due to diminishing returns. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at this number, and on a daily basis, you're going to look at it daily. On a daily basis, you're going to see, like, as we're scaling our ads, is this number either staying constant or is it decreasing, or it can even get negative. I've scaled brands ads before, my own brands ads before, and this number has gotten negative. If you try and push scaling too hard, it can dip into the negative. Okay, so you're going to use contribution margin per new customer, and you're going to look at it daily, and you're going to use it as a very quick status check on how profitable your ads are and your new customer acquisition efforts are. Then the final thing that you're going to do in this measurement segment is you're going to use a post-purchase survey, and you're going to use it to supplement both the in-platform results that I just touched on and these three metrics: AMER, new customer contribution margin, and contribution margin per new customer. So you're going to use a post-purchase survey to supplement these. The way that I like to do it is I like to extract the data from the ad platforms, so from Meta, for example, and from the post-purchase survey, and then I like to put them next to each other so I can see what the difference is. You know what? I'm just going to show an image of one of the charts in this video so you can see. So somewhere there'll be an image and you'll be able to see I've got Meta ROAS directly next to post-purchase survey ROAS and Meta conversion value directly next to post-purchase survey conversion value. And the way that I'm figuring this out is, let's say that we made $1 million in revenue last month, and our post-purchase survey says that 26% of customers self-reported first hearing about us from Meta or Instagram. So all we're going to do is take the $1 million, multiply it by 26%, which is going to give us $260,000. And then we're going to compare it to the conversion value reported in Meta. And we're also going to divide it by our Meta ad spend to give us a post-purchase survey Meta ROAS. I'm going to show a chart here so you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I like to do this because, as I said, your Meta click-based attribution can underreport. So when you look at the post-purchase survey and you put it side by side to Meta results, you can get a clearer picture of how well Meta is performing. It is very rare that I see Meta in-platform results outperforming post-purchase survey. It's usually the opposite. I usually see post-purchase survey self-reported customer results showing that Meta is contributing more to results, to overall results, than we see in platform. So with these four metrics, with AMER, new customer contribution margin per new customer, and post-purchase survey to validate everything, you should be able to make 99% accurate scaling decisions. Use these four different metrics, four different data points to make quick decisions and scale your brand when things look good. Now, Obviously, if you are a brand that is mid 8 figures or in the 9 figures, etc., you're going to need more complex measurement. I know that you might need an MTA tool, incrementality, geolift holdout, etc. This video is for brands who want to scale to 8 figures, so don't overcomplicate it at this stage. You do not need all these fancy tools. Most of the time, you're just going to be on 2 channels, which is Meta and Google. Don't overcomplicate it. Now, scaling. How to actually scale once you've got the fundamentals in place on Meta and the measurement fundamentals in place. And I'm assuming you're using cost controls, which is the way that I do it. So how to scale with cost controls. Now, first you have to find the cost control that results in hitting your target CPA or ROAS. So it's not a perfect science. And I see people talk about this on Twitter, like, oh, I set my cost control at $40, but Meta was actually getting a $50. Well, if you notice there's a $10 delta, just drop your target $10. Set it at 30 and it'll hit a 40 if that's what you're going for. I know it doesn't make sense. It's not a perfect science, but that's what you have to do. That's the way that I use it anyways. So find the cost control that results in you hitting your profit target. In this example that I just gave, if your target is 40 and you find that when you set it at 50, Meta consistently hits a 40, then set it at 50. And once you've found that, all you have to do then is set the budget as high as you're comfortable with. And then you just let it rip. Just let Meta spend your budget on a daily basis. Some days it will spend more, some days it will spend less, and you're going to keep an eye on in-platform metrics, number one, click-based in-platform metrics, 1-day click or 7-day click. You're going to make sure that your CPA and ROAS are hitting your targets, whatever they are. Then you're going to use the 4 metrics that I touched on in the measurement section to check the profitability and efficiency of your new customer acquisition. So you're going to look at AMER. Now you need to look at all these metrics on a daily basis. You're going to look at AMER, you're going to look at new customer contribution margin per new customer, and then the post-purchase survey. With the post-purchase survey, you're going to need to set some sort of sheet up so you can look at it on a daily basis, but I usually do it weekly and monthly. Check these metrics daily and make sure you're not blowing through your budget. And then once you've got your cost controls set and you're spending a lot of money on Meta and the cost controls are working, you then have 2 options to scale. So number 1, if your campaigns are hitting your budget cap, which means that if you've got the budget set at $10,000 a day and over the last 3 days, your campaign has spent 30 grand, that means it is maxing out. And the campaign is hitting your in-platform profit targets. So your CPA target's $40. This campaign is spending as much as it can and it's hitting the target. And then when you look at your overall business metrics like your AMER, your new customer contribution margin per new customer, if all of those look good, you're going to increase the budget because it's obviously working. If your cost control campaign is not hitting your profit target, so if your CPA target is $30 and your cost control campaign is hitting $40, you're going to increase the cost controls. And by increasing the cost control, it's going to throttle the spend. So let's say you increase it by 10%, which would be $4. So you increase it to $44. Your campaigns are going to spend less. If I want to reduce the budget, I'll adjust the cost control instead, usually by 10 to 20% increments. And then I'll have a look in another few days. It depends how far off target we are. So if you're way off target, if you want a $30 CPA and it's coming in at 60, then you should make a bigger change than 10% because that's way off. Just play it by ear. Okay, so in summary, find the cost control target that works for you, set the budget as high as you're comfortable with, check your key metrics daily, and then just let the budget rip and let Meta's algorithm do its thing. Okay, so we've got the fundamentals in place. Now we can move on to the most important part of scaling Facebook ads, which is, to no one's surprise, ad creative. It is the highest impact lever that you can pull when you're trying to scale your Facebook ad account. If you're watching this, this is obviously no secret to you. You already know how important creative is. And in summary, the objective of your creative strategy is to test a large volume of diverse creative on a frequent basis. It's that simple, a large volume of diverse creative on a frequent basis. When I say diverse, what I mean by that is ads that tap into different pockets of customers through new angles, new creative styles, different creators, and so on and so forth. There are 10 pillars to an 8-figure creative strategy. I'm going to run through them quickly to give you an overview. So pillar 1 is strategic planning. You need a way to figure out exactly what creative you have to produce and when, based on your available resources and the due date of this creative. So for example, if you are launching a new product on Valentine's Day, you obviously need to have creative ready for that date. It's a long process, so you need to plan well in advance. So you need a process, you need a strategic planning process. Number two is resource allocation. You need a way to divide your creative production capacity across new products, bestsellers, and testing. I'll get into this in a lot more depth in another video, but that's a high level overview of resource allocation. Now, pillar three is project management. You need a way to brief, track, and store all of your creative assets. Honestly, getting the operations part of creative production down is the most difficult part. Once you get that part down, it is so easy to produce an infinite amount of creative. You just need to get the system, the project management aspect down. So you need somewhere to store your creative briefs in a project management tool, Asana, ClickUp, Trello, whatever you use. You need a creative brief template that ticks all of the boxes. So when you send a brief to creators, they know exactly what you're looking for, the creative style, key messages, key shots, different hooks, which setting they should be in. Should they be in the bathroom, the bedroom, what lighting should they use, etc. So you need a brief template, and then you need somewhere to store the creative. I have tried Dropbox, Google Drive, a bunch of other tools. I currently use Playbook. It is the best tool that I found for storing creative because it is built specifically for creative, for video and image creative. Number four, pillar four is creative research. You need a way to research your products and figure out exactly what messaging will cut through the noise and resonate with your customers. I work with a lot of brands, and a lot of the times they are using the messaging that they think or they feel should perform best. But quite often, more often than not, that is not what your customers actually care about. So you need a method to do research and figure out exactly what messages and angles your customers will resonate with best. And pillar six is brainstorming. To come up with big ideas, with big swings, you need a systematic way to brainstorm creative. This is honestly the most important part because advertising is all about the big idea. If you can come up with a truly viral organic ad based on an angle that your customers will resonate with so deeply, you are going to be able to scale your ad account. So you need a systematic way, a systematic process to brainstorm creative, one that can predictably and consistently result in new, unique ad ideas that scale. And then pillar seven is creative production. So once you've got the project management, the briefs, the ideas, etc., you need a way to turn those briefs into ads. And that's just the production method, which includes how to scout creators, how to contact them, how to send them the brief, and so on and so forth. And then pillar eight is testing. So you've made the creative, you've got it back. So how do you test it without setting your money on fire? And what's the best way to test creative? And then pillar nine is scaling. So you've tested the creative, you found a winner. How do you scale it? Pillar 10, the last one, is remixing and iteration. So you need a way to take all of your existing creative assets and turn them into new winning ads. And you need a way to iterate on your winning ads. So what should you do? What can you do to winning ads to squeeze some more life out of them or improve performance a little bit more? Now, the remixing point is really important because a lot of the times, especially if you're a brand who's been around for a few years and you've made a lot of ad creative, you are probably sitting on so many winning ads in your creative library. You just need a way to organize all the assets and then go through them and figure out, let's combine this ad with this ad, let's make this a hook, let's use this creator and mash it up, etc. And you can create, a lot of the times, you can create net new winning ads from your library of existing assets. I have made another video breaking down the entire 8-figure creative process, every single one of those pillars that I just touched on in incredible detail with the systems and processes that I use. I'm going to link to it in the description. I highly recommend that you check it out. It is the second part of this, how to grow your brand to 8 figures and beyond with Facebook ads. Check that video out. It will help a lot if you're struggling with creative production. Okay, let's wrap this video up. So I'm going to give you a quick cheat sheet so we just recap every single thing that I touched on in this video so you can walk away knowing exactly what you have to do to scale your brand to 8 figures and beyond. So the first thing you need to do is get your meta fundamentals right. Product-led campaigns, 7-day click attribution, and cost controls. The next thing that you need to get right is measurement. So how do you actually scale your ads while making sure that you're doing it profitably? To do that, you're going to track these metrics daily and you're going to use them to supplement your in-platform click-based results on Meta. you're going to track AMER, which is your total ad spend divided by your new customer revenue. The next metric you're going to track is new customer contribution margin as a total. So you can make sure that as you scale your ad spend, you are making more contribution margin, more profit from your new customer acquisition. The third metric that you're going to track is contribution margin per new customer. The previous metric was the total amount of new customer contribution margin. This is contribution margin per new customer, and it is just another way to check the status of your customer acquisition efforts and make sure that they are profitable. So track this number, total new customer contribution margin divided by the amount of new customers that you acquired over any given time frame. And lastly, you are going to use a post-purchase survey. How did you first hear about us? You're going to use that question. You're going to multiply the percent of customers who self-report that Facebook or Instagram, Meta, was where they first heard about your brand, and you're going to multiply it by the revenue that you generated over any given time frame. Now, to scale, you're going to use all of these metrics that I just touched on, and you're going to use your in-platform Meta 7-day click-based CPA or ROAS, and you're going to look at all of these things in unison, and you're going to make sure that your new customer acquisition is profitable and your meta ads are performing well based on your 7-day click attribution results. And then you're going to scale. And personally, the way that I scale is cost controls. So it's very easy. If my meta campaigns are hitting the cost control target, I just ramp the budget up until the point of diminishing returns, which usually doesn't get reached because the cost controls will throttle your spend before you hit that point. If my meta campaigns are not hitting my CPA and ROAS goals, then I just tinker with the cost controls until they are. It's very simple. And lastly, all you need to do once you've got these things in place is feed the machine with a large volume of diverse creative on a frequent basis, and it is almost impossible not to scale and grow your brand unless you have a horrible product. So in conclusion, it has never been easier than it is in 2025 to build an 8-figure brand with Facebook ads if you know what you're doing, and there is no reason for you not to know what you're doing because there is a plethora of information out there on YouTube, on podcasts, on blogs. The information's out there. Go and learn what you need to do and then execute so you can build the brand of your dreams. If you're having trouble scaling your brand or you have questions about anything that I've touched on in this video, drop a comment below and I guarantee you I will answer it and do my best to be as helpful as possible.